Hi, this is Larry Thomas from Larry Thomas Photography. I'm a wedding and events photographer based in Johannesburg, South Africa. I want to show you today what I have in my camera bag. Starting on the outside is a monopod. I very seldom use a tripod at a wedding. I will normally use this in low light if I need to stabilize my long lens. Otherwise, I will use this to put a camera on to be able to put up high in the air to do group shots, and during the reception and on the dance floor I will normally have a flash attached to this with a cable, allowing me to get some off-camera lighting but without needing an assistant for that. The bag itself is a Think Tank airport accelerator. It is a carry-on sized bag, but only for larger aircraft, but too big for the overhead on regional jets. It does not have wheels, it's a backpack. A lot of the time I find in places where I can't pull a bag, it's easier to carry it. In the front compartment, all the little bits and bobs, business cards, breath mints, throat lozenges, headache tablets, a small LED flashlight, and my cell phone, wallet, car keys, all those things would sit in there. The other front compartment is designed to hold a laptop as well as an iPad. I don't take either of those to a wedding or to an event, so I use this compartment to carry a large 5-in-1 reflector, and I also carry a ground sheet. It's just long enough for me to lie on. It allows me to stay clean and dry if I'm doing any photographs from lying on the ground and shooting up towards the bride and groom. It also works really well if the ground is wet and muddy and the bride is going to sit down somewhere. You often want them to sit on a lawn. This allows her to stay dry and keep her dress clean. It allows me to stay happy because the bride stays happy. Inside the bag, I've tried a lot of different ways to carry the camera. I've tried the manufacturer's straps, I've tried the Black Rapid type straps. They all put the weight on your shoulders. At the moment I'm using the Spyder holster. This allows me to carry the weight of the camera on my hips. Far more comfortable. The camera doesn't flap around either. This is their single-sided one that I have simply added their normal belt holster. This is designed to fit onto a normal sort of belt for pants. It means I can carry the second body with me if I need to, but generally I don't. So this works fine for me for just my primary camera. Speaking of my primary camera, that is a Nikon D3S. It is a pro body size full frame camera, 12 megapixels. It has been replaced recently by the Nikon D4, but this camera is a machine and still has everything I need it to do. It is still phenomenal in low light, so I can't see the need to change to the D4. And the lens that I will use on it 70-80% of the time is the Nikon 80-200 2.8 AFS lens. This has also been replaced by the 70-200 2.8 VR2 lens. I have compared the two of them, shot them, compared the pictures. In terms of sharpness, this lens is as sharp as the VR2. It does not have the stabilization, but generally in low light I will normally be shooting with flash. The flash freezes the action. I'm not really needing the stabilization. You never go to a wedding with only one camera, so my backup body is the Nikon D700. It is also a 12 megapixel full frame camera. I use it with Nikon's battery pack. This allows the cameras to be very similar in weight and size. The layout of the buttons is a little bit different, but all of the programmable buttons have been programmed so that the two cameras function exactly the same. I can swap between them and I don't have to try and remember which does which. Everything is set up exactly the same. This one, a lot of the time, will have this lens on it. This is the Nikon 24-70. It's also a 2.8 lens, has the nanocrystal coating. This lens I will generally not use during the service, but I will use it for the group pictures as well as for some of the photographs during the reception. I only have those two zoom lenses. All the other lenses in the bag are primes. I carry Nikon's 85mm 1.8. This is great for the bride getting ready, the groom getting ready. Often it's a darker room and I can shoot without a flash because I can go to the much bigger apertures, and it's a nice small light lens and very, very sharp. The only non-Nikon lens in the bag is a Tokina 100mm macro. It's a 2.8 lens as well, extremely sharp. It's built like a tank. I don't use it a lot. It's mainly just for the detail work on the tables, anywhere where I need to get in close, but in an emergency it does work very nicely as a portrait lens. I also then have Nikon's 16mm fisheye lens. It's a 2.8 lens with a 180-degree field of view. This allows me to be able to do the big wide shot at the back of the church with the camera up on the monopod. I will often use that in the venue as well, just to give a nice setting shot. You can see the whole venue, and it also allows me to do everybody at the wedding in one group picture with the camera up on a monopod. The last lens in the bag is Nikon's 50mm 1.8. I don't use this lens much during a wedding, but it's always a nice emergency lens to have in very, very low light. This lens works great. So if I find myself stuck where I can't use flash, this lens is the go-to then lens. But most days, well, most weddings these days can be shot with a flash, so I don't use that much. When I use the flash, I prefer to get it off the camera, so it'll either be with Nikon's SC29 cable. This piece that the flash attaches to will go onto the monopod. This goes on the top of the camera. This still gives me the infrared assist for focusing, so in very low light the camera doesn't struggle to focus, but the flash is off of the camera. Ordinarily during the service I will have a flash on the main body. That will normally be a Nikon SB900, but it will be attached through a Fotic Strata 2 transmitter. This allows TTL pass-through, so the flash will still function normally and I can do bounce flash with TTL, but it also allows me to turn on and off any off-camera lights I may be using. Sometimes even during the wedding service I will have a light setup to be able to provide additional lighting if necessary during the service. And during the reception I will normally have two lights set up, one onto the main table and one onto the area where the people are doing speeches, and I can switch between them just turning on whichever group I need. I also then carry two SB700s. They are smaller flashes, not quite as powerful, but they work really well. They will normally go onto the secondary body, and I will sometimes use these just as smaller off-camera lights. And then I still have an antique Nikon SB28. It is purely a manual flash when used with these, but it's pretty powerful and it never gives any trouble. The other items in the bag is I will normally carry all the cables that I need to be able to set up these with. I also have a 300 watt second battery pack light that can be triggered with these. I've got all the cables for that. I will also then have at least 4 sets of AA batteries as backup for the flashes, as well as some AAA batteries for the triggers. Also in here will be little odds and ends, cleaning cloths, pliers, bits and pieces. And then the last bit on the other side is memory cards. I always take way more than I need to make sure there's never going to be a problem. I shoot with Lexar memory cards. They're great. They've got great recovery software if anything ever happens. Even if the card seems to be corrupted, you can often recover stuff off of it. I use either the 8s or the 16s. They allow me to use several cards during the wedding. That means that while I'm busy shooting, one of the used cards can be backed up. And worst case scenario, I'm only going to lose what's on one card. I could never lose the whole wedding. I also then use the Epson P5000. It has an 80 gig hard drive. It's got a much larger screen than on the back of the camera, but it has a CF card slot and an SD card slot, which allows me to back up the cards directly onto this hard drive. if I have a second shooter at a wedding, I can back up their cards here as well. So I have all the photos from the wedding on here, plus I still have them on my cards, and the second shooter will have their cards. So I always have everything duplicated so you can never lose the picture. That's what I have in my bag. Please feel free, go and have a look at my website, www.larrythomas.co.za. You'll also see me on Facebook as Larry Thomas Photography. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to putting out more videos. Thank you.